Okay, hello everyone. Lar back here with another Task 2 live stream for you. Just in case you're new to these live streams, the purpose is basically to give you feedback on your Task 2 writing. So it could be, you're having problems with language, could be vocab or grammar mistakes you're making. It could be you're generating ideas that aren't appropriate. Could be that you're not developing your ideas appropriately. So I'll be able to look at what you produce, give you some feedback based on what I see, and give you some ideas of where you're going wrong. And then the idea is that with that information, you'll know where to focus your time and energy, and that will help you to get the scores that you need. So understanding your weaknesses will mean that your study time is actually helping you to improve your scores. So that's the purpose of the lesson. However, if you do not know how to write a Task 2 essay yet, I'll just share these links with you here. There is one link for YouTube and one link for Facebook, but it's the same lesson. So I've just included the two links because some people prefer YouTube, some people prefer Facebook, but they're the same lessons. So what that is 3 hours worth of videos that will walk you through everything you need to know about Task 2, how it works, what you need to do, how to generate your ideas, how to structure your answer. Absolutely everything is included there. Then, of course, once you know what to do, you need to practice doing it. And that's what we're doing here today. I have a few people in here. Team Bangladesh, welcome back. Haven't seen you in a while. And Adoga Grace, welcome to the lesson. Hey Jashan, good to see you here. Hi Anita, good to see you too. Anita used to come to my live feedback lessons all the time, but has been busy with work, so haven't seen much of Anita recently. Team Bangladesh, what's this? What's the essay topic? Violent movies. I'll show you now in one moment. Hi Sushma, you took your test, good, waiting for the results. Best of luck with that. Make sure to let us know how you get on. You're very welcome. You're very welcome, and it's always good to see you here. But hopefully you'll get the scores and we won't be seeing as much of you for that reason. Hey Kendrick. Hi Gerland. Hey Kamal. Hey Sandy, good to see you back here. Okay, so as always, we're going to start with the paraphrase, and the paraphrase is basically checking if you can accurately rewrite the question statement in your own words. So I'll show you the question in a moment, but basically what you're looking to do is have the exact same meaning. So the worst thing you can do is have either I can't understand what you've said, or what you've said doesn't mean the same thing as the question statement. So first and foremost, make sure that your paraphrase, make sure that your paraphrase has the exact same meaning as the question. So here's the question. For any of you who are new, just let me clarify, this is the question statement. There are some who feel that extreme violence in movies should be banned as it can lead to criminal behavior. So rewrite that in your own words. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So write the paraphrase. Once you finish writing the paraphrase, send it to me in the comments. I'll pull it up on screen here and I'll give you feedback based on either what you're doing right or what you're doing wrong. But really the objective is to tell you what you're doing wrong, because that's how we will improve your scores. Hey Ernest, good to see you back here. Hey Nana, hello from Bangkok. Good to see you here again. I have been trying to connect. Yeah, so if you're having problems connecting to the live feedback lessons, just send me an email, Anita. I'll be able to help you with that. Hey, aha, good to see you here. Hi, Chisek. Welcome to the lesson from Zambia. Great. Good to have you here. So, Chisek, I'm confident I'm saying your name incorrectly, but not on purpose. We're just writing the paraphrase for the question statement on your screen. So just write the paraphrase, send that to me in the comments, and I'll have some feedback for you. Navkiran, welcome to the lesson. And you're all done. Good. Send it my way and I'll have some feedback for you. And Mr. Hemingway, some people believe that extremely violent films need to be outlawed because they can encourage crime. Good. Outlawed. Good. And I would just change the last bit because they can encourage crime. I would just say because they encourage crime. Because in the question it says can lead to criminal behavior. So that means, you know, it can happen. Not that it happens to everybody, but you don't need it with encourage, because encourage is just kind of like, you know, pushes people towards it. So when you use encourage, it doesn't indicate that it always happens to everybody who watches them. So you can remove the word can from your paraphrase, but that's actually a very well paraphrased question statement there. So good job. Hi, Riff. Good to see you back here. And Glenda is here. Hey, Glenda. You can use Mercy. That's my other name. Mercy. Okay. Problem now is remembering when it's not on your screen. I'll probably remember for the rest of today, but unlikely when you're back in the next lesson. So apologies in advance. I'm not fantastic with names, I'm afraid. Ayush, some argue that high violence doesn't collocate, so that doesn't have a meaning. High amounts of violence, that would work. High amounts of violence in movies should not be allowed. So it's, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine, because it direct to unlawful behavior, because it can result in. So a few vocab mistakes there, Ayush, which is unlike you. You're generally more accurate than that. Ernest, perfect. So you understand where I'm coming from. Sandy, some people believe that extremely violent scenes in films ought to be prohibited because they can bring about criminal behavior. Absolutely perfect. I would have nothing to say in relation to how to improve that. That's spot on. Good job, Sandy. Hi, Salvi. Good to see you back here. Kamal, some people believe that there should be a ban on extreme violence in films which can cause criminal behavior. Now, the way you've used which means that those are the types of movies which should be banned. So you're saying so we don't need, the way you've written it, it means we don't need to ban all violent movies. We only need to ban the violent movies which can result in criminal behavior. So that's the type of movie that you're describing. So if you change which to because, that would work, because they can cause criminal behavior. So just switch that word and everything else is accurate. Gurjant, good to see you here. It is felt by some individuals that violence related films, that's not a accurate phrase, so that those words don't collocate, that just violent films or violence in films would have been okay. You could have copied in from the question. Should be forbidden because it can lead to criminal activities. Good. Everyone's actually doing a really good job of paraphrasing this. Some people perceive extreme violence in movies. Perceive extreme violence in movies brings about. You're using perceive incorrectly. So just if you'd copied feel, would have been more accurate. If you had said some people feel extreme violence in movies brings about, no apostrophe in brings about criminal behaviors uncountable, so no S. and should be banned. Everything else is good. Just a few little language errors, which I've pointed out. Hi, Sova. Some people believe that movies containing extreme offences, no, that's not a collocation of violent, should be prohibited because it can drive people to crime. It can push people to crime would be more accurate. So just 2 vocab mistakes. The rest is looking good. And Roland, good to see you back here. Some people think that movies should be less violent because it can be a source of criminal issues. And it doesn't have the same meaning. So I mean, the language itself, like there are no vocab or grammar mistakes, but it doesn't have the same meaning as the question statement. So it's not quite accurate. It's not that movies should be less violent. It's that we should not allow very violent movies to be made. So we're specifically talking about very violent, extremely violent movies. And that's not part of your paraphrase, so that it doesn't work, I'm afraid. You need a capital S for some, so the first letter of the sentence. Some people believe that tremendous violence in films is a root cause, and then it would have to be a cause of, so that's the preposition you need. Cause of illegal actions and should be prohibited. Everything else is good, so just those small mistakes. Team Bangladesh. It can be seen that movies nowadays produce violence scenarios. No, I think you're trying too hard to paraphrase here. And what I always recommend as well, like when you're paraphrasing, don't take the whole sentence in one go. I like to just break it down. It's like there are some who feel, some believe that extreme violence in movies, that extremely violent films should be banned, should not be allowed, as they can lead to criminal behavior, as they can result in criminal activities. So it's much easier if you just take little chunks one at a time. It's much easier to end up with an accurate paraphrase. So I feel like you're after kind of restructuring too much, and the meaning has got lost in the middle of that. So it can be seen that movies nowadays produce violence scenarios. That doesn't mean anything, which ought to be stopped. It's not that clear, and to be banned or prohibited or outlawed or whatever other word wouldn't really be this as would be more precise than stopped, because it creates, so that's subject verb agreement, it and verb with the S, it creates aggressive behavior in people, and criminal behavior isn't necessarily aggressive behavior, and vice versa. So they would overlap, but they're not the same thing. So if you approach the paraphrase that like one section at a time, the way I mentioned, I think that will help you to improve your accuracy. Zaki, the extreme violence seen in films, no S on seen in films always makes, that's where you need the S, always makes people debate, should have an E at the end. Some say that those scenes are scenes, SCENES, so that's a spelling mistake, can lead to criminal behavior. Spelling mistakes, I'm not sure if it's because you're typing really quickly on a phone or if you're actually spelling those words incorrectly, but there are quite a few spelling mistakes. That's definitely something you'll have to work on before you would get a good score, Zaki. Navkiran, there is a proliferating idea of belief that brutal cinematography must indeed be prohibited in order to put a stop to the unjust misdemeanor. It sounds like you used a thesaurus to write this. Or perhaps you're using a thesaurus to learn vocabulary. It just looks like you've taken one word at a time, ran it through a thesaurus, taken a different word, because there are lots of words that have similar meanings to what's in the question, but none of them that have the same meaning as in the question. I've seen the question already, so I know what you're trying to say with this, but really, if I didn't have the question to help me, I would not be able to understand that. So for you, you might need to improve your vocab, but you can definitely improve your clarity by just using more common vocabulary, because this is, if it's a very common error with IELTS candidates. They're trying to show their range of vocabulary by using words they cannot use, and that's just lack of communication, and that hurts every aspect of your IELTS score. So I would avoid that in future. Arif, extreme violence should be banned because some people think that it can inspire crime. Good. Capital E at the start of the letter, Arif. Some people claim that violence should not be shown, so that's passive, be shown in movies because it can lead to bad behavior. And again, behavior is uncountable, so there's no S. And also, bad behavior wouldn't necessarily be criminal behavior. So bad behavior would be more something like a naughty child, not so much somebody breaking the law. So that wouldn't be accurate. Media, welcome to the lesson. Some people believe that the lead to criminal behavior, comes from extreme violence in movies and should be banned. No, so this lead, the way you've used the word lead is quite unclear. Some people believe that criminal behavior leads to extreme, leads, some believe that criminal behavior can be a result of extreme violence in movies and therefore should be banned. And then a full stop at the end of the sentence as well. Medya. Anita, people hold that violence in movies should be abolished. So no, people hold that violence in movies should be abolished. So it's a passive structure. You need ed, the past participle, be abolished because it promotes criminal behavior. Again, behavior is uncountable, no S, and you need a full stop at the end of that sentence, Anita. Stella, good to see you here. Some individuals believe, so they believe, no S. Some individuals believe that extreme violence in movies should be prohibited because it promotes criminal acts. Criminal actions, be more accurate. But yeah, besides that, that's relatively good paraphrase. Parvin. Okay, before I look at Parvins, let me just move you on to the next part of the lesson. So we have two options with this question. We can either say that we agree or we can disagree, but don't worry what you really think. What you really need, like when you're generating ideas, just imagine, why would someone agree? Not necessarily you. Why would someone agree? Why would someone disagree? And as soon as you have two ideas that are relevant, then you have the ideas you need for your answer. So two ideas that are appropriate. So for your ideas to be appropriate, they need to be specific and they need to be relevant. So generate ideas, and I don't want you to just send me random ideas, because very often this is what happens. Students just send one idea at a time. But what I'd like to see is, can you actually analyze your questions enough to confidently say, I have these two ideas that I would go ahead and use in my essay. So don't just send me one idea. Don't send me a bunch of ideas. Don't send me 4 or 5 ideas. Send me 2. And just write agree because, and then the 2 ideas you think you should use. Or write disagree and the 2 ideas you would use for that. So it's just to get a little bit more insight, rather than just like potluck throwing out ideas and seeing if some of them fit. Actually analyze your own ideas, and post ideas that you're more confident about, and then that will give you a better idea if you are actually analyzing your question, excuse me, if you are actually analyzing your main ideas carefully enough. So that's what I want you to do. Tell me what main ideas would you use for this? And then start with agree or disagree so I know what you're supporting. Are you saying you agree? Then give me the two ideas why or how you would support that. Or on the other side, disagree and the two ideas you would use to support that. So here's the question again. And while you're started on that, let me give feedback to the few students who haven't got feedback on their paraphrases. Okay, it is argued by many. Many and some are not the same, Parvin. So some is, a group. Many is a big group. So we don't know how big the group is when they say some. So it is argued by some that extreme violence-based movies. No. Say movies based on extreme violence, that would work. Should be prohibited as it might create more offensive society. No, offensive isn't the same thing as criminal behavior. I think it is not appropriate for banning movies as people just take it as entertainment source. So that would be a main idea. You would need two though, Parvin. Navkiran, just give me one moment. So I believe this is the one we looked at earlier on, is it not? Oh, a small change from the original one, but it's essentially the same feedback. Like there is a proliferating idea of belief among some people think. Don't make it so complicated. Keep it very simple. Keep it very simple for yourself, Navkaran. So like some people think very, very, very easy, very, very straightforward, and would result in a much better score than what you're putting together at the moment. Hey Arvin, good to see you here. These days people argued, so you've used past simple, you need to use present, so argue, no D, that some movie films, we just say some movies or films, we don't call them movie films. And it's not that they are prohibited, it's that some people, they want to prohibit them, so they say they should be prohibited. Due to extremely brutal effects. Again, an effect would more make me think of like a visual effect, maybe like CGI or something like that in the movie, not violence. So that's an inaccurate paraphrase. That might influence the people into bad traits. And again, a bad trait wouldn't be as serious as criminal behavior. So like a bad trait could be, like somebody who like bites their nails, something like that. Like more like a bad habit. Maybe somebody smoking. So it wouldn't necessarily be something illegal when you describe it that way. Roland, according to some people, extreme violence should be forbidden in films as it can be a result of criminal behavior. So it can be a result of means the criminal behavior is causing the violent films. But we're trying to say that the violent films create the criminal behavior. So the way you've written it, the cause and effect is the wrong way around. And it's because of the phrasing of it can be a result of. You need to say as it can result in is what you needed to say. I know, Stella. We normally miss each other. So good to see you here on time. Absolutely. Ayush. Okay, so we're gone on to the main ideas. So this is where we get in. This is where we're looking at our task achievement here. So this is where we're starting to increase our task achievement score by saying A, whether we agree or disagree, and then why. Now, main thing is it has to be relevant and specific. That's what makes it appropriate. There's no such thing as a good idea, an interesting idea. Well, there is such a thing as an interesting idea, but it doesn't help your IELTS score. So you don't need to be interesting. You don't need to be unique. The only thing your ideas need to be are relevant and specific. So that's all we're looking for. Okay, so Ayush, I completely agree with this statement because the youth in particular, try to copy the activities shown in the movies. Good. So young people being prone to copying what they see. And it often makes people rationalize unlawful activities. Good. Both specific, both relevant. Perfect. Now, other students might have different ideas, but you cannot do better than Ayush has done. So you might have other ideas that are relevant and specific. So you can do as good as him, but you cannot do better. This is as good as your main ideas can be. So, if you have different ideas that are also relevant and specific, they're not going to get you a higher score than these ideas that are relevant and specific that Ayush has come up with. So yeah, that's perfect. You're really on track for a good score once you have your main ideas. And if your main ideas aren't relevant and specific, like let's say if only one of them was appropriate, you're not going to get a good task achievement score. And if both of them are inappropriate, you're not going to get a good task achievement score. So your task achievement score is dependent on getting this right. And then what you do later when you're developing those ideas is what will increase your task achievement score further. But if you don't get this part right, in relation to task achievement, it's over. I mean, you might still get a good score for coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy. It's not like it's all over, but it's going to be very difficult to get a good score if this part is wrong. Okay, so good, Ayush. Kamal, I completely agree because it pushes children to mimic those scenes and affects society in a bad way. Both are relevant, but only the first one is specific. Now, like I said, like in a bad way could be, possibly 10 other main ideas. So what is the bad way that you're thinking about? It has to be more specific than that. So like when you go to explain in a bad way, you'll end up listing probably 2 or 3 specific ideas as your explanation. So that's what you need to be careful with. When you're generating ideas, imagine how you're going to explain it. And if your explanation ends up being, a list of other ideas rather than an actually saying how or why, then you know that it is too vague, and that it's in a bad way. That's vague. You need to say specifically what bad way are you referring to. Anita, people hold it that violence in movies should be abolished because it promotes criminal behavior. Good. You need to remove the it. Delete the word it. The rest is perfect. Good. Sava, I totally agree. Oh, very good. I actually forgot about that. Kamal said completely. Ayush said completely. Yes, that's very important, and I forgot because the question says to what extent, and everybody has done it so far, but I didn't draw attention to it. So yes, I totally agree, or I completely agree. You have to say that because you've been asked to what extent. Okay, so I totally agree with the statement because the individuals, especially adolescents, which needs a T, and young adults are highly influenced by the acts, no apostrophe, of their role models, and the acting for extreme wildness may lead to serious injury. You've gone a little bit off there at the end. So who are these people's role models? So we're talking about violence in movies. Are their role models the characters in the movies? It's not clear. It's not clear who the role models are. We haven't had any mention of role models before. We don't know who the role models of these adolescents are, so that's not clear. And then the acting for extreme wildness, that phrase doesn't communicate anything. The acting for extreme wildness may lead to serious injury. So are you saying that in the movies, the actors might hurt themselves because of the way they're behaving? Because of the scenes that they're acting out? Again, it's just not clear. So both of your ideas are unclear, unfortunately, so neither of those would be appropriate. Ernest, I strongly agree. 1. After an action/martial arts movie, you can see teenagers practicing what they have seen on their friends. Okay. And then, so is this about banning violent movies? So it doesn't sound like they're doing anything illegal. I think this would be a good example. Like if we go back to like Kamal had here, because it pushes children to mimic those scenes. Okay. And then as an example, you could say, how common it is to see kids mimic what they see on TV. For example, when they watch action movies, they always go outside and they replicate what they saw. So this shows that if they're watching more violent movies, they will also go and do that. So this would be more of an explanation of Kamal's main idea than it would be an actual main idea. So that there isn't the main idea at the moment. 2, criminals often use tactics and tricks they have learned from the movies. This kind of feels like one thing has gone before the other. If they're already criminals, so if they're criminals use the tactics, but if they're already criminals, are they not already breaking the law? So were they criminals before the movie or after the movie? That again, that's unclear. So just the way you've used criminals is confusing because I don't know, would they have broken the law anyway? Only they have a smarter way of breaking the law after the movie. So it's like a training for criminals, or is it that they wouldn't have broken the law and then when they saw the movie they decided they would? So that's not clear from the way you've written it. That doesn't mean that it's an irrelevant idea. It's just not clear at the moment. Okay, Team Bangladesh. I completely agree with this idea because it leaves their life in danger. No. So you're not focusing on the question here. So the question is said, so if you're saying you agree, you're saying that we should ban these movies. So we should make extremely violent movies illegal. But then you need to explain, why do you think we should do that? So it leads their life in danger. It's not clear who they are, their life. Who are those people you're referring to? So that's your usage of the pronoun is unclear. And if their life is in danger, is it because they're committing crimes? And if it is, then that's more the outcome. But what I need to hear from you is, how does it result in crimes? So we're not getting that there. Call to please give us some example. So what we've seen some relevant ideas there already, Nana. So Ayush's was the first one, and both of those were relevant, and we had some other relevant ideas as well. Okay, Noyan. It's obvious that forceful violence in movies. Forceful violence isn't a phrase in English, Noyan. So let's just say it's obvious that violence in movies encourages people to commit crimes. However, the majority believe extreme violence should be excluded in movies. Majority means most people, and the question doesn't say that. Okay, so what I see here is that background statement, the first sentence. I think you're after splitting up the paraphrase. It would be better to keep it in one sentence. I am in agreement with this statement. Now, remember, it says to what extent. So you have to say, are you completely in agreement? Are you slightly in agreement? So you need to include that to make sure you've directly answered the question. So that is important. So let's say I am in complete agreement with this statement. To illustrate that young people follow movies noticeably, and they try to apply consequences of movies in their real life. So are they breaking the law? It doesn't really sound like we're talking about, people turning to crime because of movies. So again, not completely clear. Hi, yeah, you are very welcome. And get involved, share your ideas. Nana, could you please give us some good answers? I will show you Ayush's again. That one. That's not to say that other people didn't have good answers, but that one, both of the ideas were relevant. Hey, Maravik, welcome to the lesson. Probably the first time. I don't know if that's true, Ayush. I don't know if that's right. If you say so, but I don't recall you struggling with main ideas too much. No need for admittedly. You can just go straight into the sentence. You can start the sentence with "I completely agree." Navkaran. I completely agree with this assertion, as violent actions in the cinematography may displease a huge number of audience, as the elderlies, as some of the youth prefer meaningful cinema. So this has nothing to do with criminal behavior. You're just focused on extreme violence in movies, not that those movies should be banned because it can lead to criminal behavior. Very, very common mistake in the IELTS test is students will really focus in on an aspect of the question and talk about that, but that's not what will get you a good score. You can't just like take, okay, it's about violent movies, I'm going to talk about violent movies. That's not how you respond to the question. It's you take the full context, and everything you say has to be related to exactly the context of the question. So you can't talk about crime in general, you can't talk about, extreme violence in movies in general. It has to be in particular, are we going to ban these movies because it can lead to criminal behavior? So do you think they should, or do you not think? Do you think we don't need to ban them, or do you think we need to ban them because of how they cause criminal behavior? So you need to take the whole context. So that first part would not be appropriate. Moreover, some films also instigate certain ideologies of people, as this kind of cinema might hurt their personal way of life. Again, doesn't seem to be related to the context. Your writing is clearer this time, though, I must say. Seems like you're taking less risks with vocabulary. So that's obviously good. Okay. Hi, Arigase. Good to see you here. Please, in this type of question, are we to speak in support or against the opinion, or probably discuss the two views? Just one, whatever you think. So say, I completely agree or I completely disagree. You don't need to discuss the other side. Nana, I fully support this idea. So you don't need the M, you don't need am. I fully support this idea because, for example, most children nowadays cannot separate what is good or bad, so they might learn and copy bad things from the movies. Good, but this is one idea and you need two. So your idea is appropriate, but you do need two. Not illegal, imitating. I'm not sure what you mean there. Ernest, yes, mimic. I'm not following you. You probably wrote this when I was talking about something else and it made sense, but I'm not following. I don't recall what that's in connection to at the moment, Ernest. Okay, one moment. Okay, Roland. So just like Nana, that is one appropriate idea, but you need two. Gerland, I completely agree with this statement because younger generation copy everything which is in films, and it can also do cause negative impacts on others. Second idea is too vague. What negative impacts? Typo, no problem. I totally agree that it should be completely abolished. Both of those commas are unnecessary, Stella, because this can lead to youngsters trying to demonstrate exactly what the movie stars are acting on the movie. For example, okay, so this seems to be a body paragraph, so we'll get to that, but that main idea is appropriate. That's good. Hi, Jashan. Good to see you here. Kendrick, I agree because firstly, teenagers mostly like to put what they see in movies into practice. Good. You don't need a capital F for firstly. Secondly, and you need a comma after firstly and secondly. Secondly, such extreme violence triggers the idea in a person to make a move which seems to be criminal in society. Too vague. Why is that happening? So we've already said that the violence can lead to criminal behavior, but now you need to explain how or why does that happen. So not just saying it happens, but like you've done with the first one, it's because, you know, younger people like to recreate what they've seen. That's why it happens. But in the second one, you've just said that it happens, and that's not enough. Sandy, I completely agree with this opinion because they make it easy for people to apply criminal activities from those scenes in their reality. Okay, that's appropriate. And people are more likely to commit crimes with the insensitivity about committing crimes. I'm not sure what you're saying there. They're more likely to commit crimes with the insensitivity about committing crimes. Not sure. Insensitivity doesn't have the meaning that you're trying to communicate. That's the problem there. But I'm not sure what you're trying to get at. Hey, Princess, good to see you here. Hi, Joy. Hi, Sanya. Hello, Facebook user. Maravik. Yes, I agree for this to be banned. So you have to say, I completely agree. So I completely agree that this should be banned, that we should ban the violent films in the cinema. It didn't say in the cinema, it just means everywhere. So, you know, ban them completely, not just from the cinema. Because some children always follow whatever they see in the movies. Good. And in the movies, they applied in their behavior. Okay, so that's one main idea, but you need two. So your idea is appropriate, but you need two. Violent movies desensitize individuals. Good. And Sandy, that's probably what you meant to say with insensitivity. Desensitize. Good. Yes. Perfect, Anita. Good. Okay, Jashan. It is believed by some individuals that extreme violence in films related to violence. So it's not that the films are violent. Sorry, it's not that the films are extreme. It's that the violence is extreme. So you can't move the adjective to another noun. Should be forbidden because it can lead to criminal activities. Okay, good. Arif. Mostly brutal movies directed on the basis of true incidents, and I believe a large number, you'll have to write number, of criminals don't even watch movies. Okay, so you're saying that you disagree. Just imagine a serial killer or maybe psycho killer. For them, there is no need to watch movies to kill people. Serial killers kill for money. They don't. And a psycho doesn't even know the reason of his killing. Okay, I like I like uh, I like that you've gone to the other side. Okay, so what you're saying is like criminals don't need the inspiration. I think that's a good idea, but that's one idea again. You'll also need to say more clearly that you disagree. A serial killer is a person who kills a lot of people, so I think you're confusing that with an assassin. And I don't know if a psycho killer is a real phrase. I know there's a song. There's a song about a psycho killer, but I don't know if it's. I've never heard it outside of that context, which doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I've just never heard it used in an academic context. Okay, Sandy. So were you looking at the last one? Is it insensitivity caused by the exposure to fire? Is that the same thing again? Insensitivity caused by the exposure. I'm pretty sure what you're looking for is what Anita said with desensitize. Hey, Pierre. Good to see you here. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We have 15 minutes left. I have a bunch of people on Facebook and a bunch of people on YouTube. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to Ayusha's because I know other people had good ideas and other people had more than one relevant idea. But just because Ayusha's was there first, I remember it as being appropriate. So let me just find his again. And what I want you to do is the people on Facebook, I want you to say, how would you develop the idea that the first idea, youth in particular try to copy the activities shown in movies. So youth copy the activities. If you're on Facebook, just tell me, how would you develop that idea? And if you're on YouTube, tell me, how would you develop it makes people rationalize unlawful acts. So if you don't know what rationalize means, it means helps them to explain to themselves why it's okay, what they're doing is okay. So like, you know, if a criminal, let's say they kill somebody, and in their minds they make themselves believe that what they've done is acceptable. That's rationalized. So they make themselves believe that what they've done is okay. So that's what I want you to do. On Facebook, how would you explain, how would you develop the idea that youth will copy it? And on YouTube, how would you develop the idea that it makes people rationalize unlawful activities? While you're all doing that, let me just share what's going on at Complete Test Success at the moment. So I've mentioned that I'm making a writing course, and I'm about halfway through that at the moment. So if you are not doing the IELTS test, I would say before mid-January, that will be something, it will be ready in time for you. However, I want to start with just, I know I said before I was going to take on 5, but I want to just take on 3 students to begin with. So if you are interested in that, let me know, and we can, because like I said, there's only 3. So if you're interested, I'm not gonna take in a lot of people. I'm just going to start with 3. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Also, I have the live feedback lessons. I know some of you here, I know, are already joining those, but some of you are not. And those live feedback lessons are on Zoom. So they're my free lessons on Zoom, and I have those each week for task 2, task 1, and speaking. And let me just share the link with you for that. I also have one-on-one writing and speaking feedback services at the moment. So you'll find those there. If you haven't already signed up for my live feedback lessons as well, I have a task 2 tomorrow. So that's on Zoom. So if you haven't already signed up, you can just click there, sign up, and join me on Zoom tomorrow for those. They're just for subscribers, so you'll have to subscribe first. And then those one-on-one feedback service, that's available. And again, I'll have more live streams next week. So this lesson next Thursday, the essay correction competition, I'll have a post about that on Sunday as well. And then, as always, the speaking live stream on Tuesday. Okay, let me get back into this. So I know you haven't completed the task yet, but I'm just going to give Sanya some advice and see what other comments I have here. Many people believe that extreme violence, that's a spelling mistake, Sanya, should be banned because it has a bad psychological impact on the brains of innocent kids and many adults, which can lead to mental illness? No. Sanya, unfortunately, no. Because mental illness does not mean that they're going to automatically commit crimes. So you need to stay in the context of the question and state that it's resulting, like whatever way it's the impact on the brain is causing people to commit crimes. That's what you would need to say. Mental illness is not going to have anything to do with this. And then as well, is this two ideas or one idea? I would say it's one idea because you're saying it affects kids and adults. So that's not going to be two ideas. That's one idea. So you're just saying it affects people. And if you try to develop that as two main ideas, the development would be the exact same. So you'd have one paragraph saying it affects kids' brains. This is how it affects kids' brains. This is what happens. It affects adults' brains. If that was the other idea, how would you explain and exemplify that differently? So it would inevitably be the exact same development, if that is supposed to be two ideas. Okay, Roland, my second idea. Movies should be a way to educate people. If they are full of violence, so just full, no ed, people might think that all things is resolved by violence. I'm not sure why you're saying educate people. I don't see the connection between that. And then you're more focusing on the outcome. So you're saying people will commit crime, will be more violent because of the movies, but your idea has to explain how or why it happens. So no, again, in this, you're not really getting to the core of how does the movie result in people resolving their disputes in violence. So how does one affect the other? And that's what you need to talk about. Osama, how to use colon in writing task 2? Very rarely needed. If you want to put however in the middle of a sentence, you need to use a semicolon before that. In colon, you don't need a colon. Navkiran, you're interested? Okay. Not sure what you're referring to. Is it the live feedback lessons or the one-on-one? If so, just click on that and you will have access. Joyce, hi teacher, give us tips on reading part. I'll share a lesson with you here, Joyce. One moment now, I'll find it for you here. Just look in the comments there. I've shared a link. It says reading lesson and a link. So you'll get that there. Hey, Lizzie, good to see you here again. Are you tired? Do I seem tired? I am tired. But I didn't think I was showing it. I thought I was doing okay. It's my eyes going red. I am, but I'm fine. Thanks, Nana. Arif, revenge is one of the many reasons for extreme violence and murder. I remember one individual who didn't watch movies, but he killed someone brutally. Okay. So this isn't related to Arif's, your Arif, sorry. This isn't related to Ayush's main ideas. So you're not really, no, it's outside the context, Arif. So what you're saying is that movies, you're talking about how people commit crime without seeing movies, but what you need to say is how movies don't result in crime. If we're not going to ban the movies, you need to say we shouldn't ban those movies, or we don't need to ban those movies because they don't result in crime. So I guess in the second sentence you are, but in the first one you're more saying there are other reasons for crime, but you're not saying that movies are not the cause of crime. So you need to be more focused on saying, like, defending violent movies. I agree with this opinion because of the increased crime. Too vague, I'm afraid, Big B. But good to see you here. And still again, Big B, is that your real name? Is that your real name? I know I've asked you before. You probably don't want to answer, but I am curious. Hey, Angel. Good to see you here again. Muazzam, welcome to the lesson. Okay. How are you all doing with developing the main ideas? And you don't need to write a full paragraph either. You just say, how would you develop Ayush's ideas? If you're struggling, if you can't do it, let me know, because just to give me a little bit of feedback, let me know what's happening, and I can factor in and adjust based on how you're all doing. Okay, Big B. I disagree with this notion because it can reduce the value of movie. Not sure what value you're referring to. Okay. It happens because the criminal... Oh, you're struggling with... Oh, you're doing a good job though. Thanks, Ayush. Okay. It happens because the criminal characters are developed in such a way that audiences tend to develop a soft spot for them. Good. Soft spot is too informal, but yes, this is making sense. Good. Accordingly, every criminal act conducted by them is justified in one way or another. Good. Filmmakers provide reasons as to why they are doing it and what led them to that. As there was no other choice than to conduct that violent activity. For instance, in the movie Joker, the protagonist kills a show host on live telecast. Isn't a word that we use in conventional English, and it's a word that I've seen Indian people use a lot, and they're always very surprised when I tell them that's not a word that we use in English, but it's not. So I think broadcast is normally the word that would be more interchangeable, but wouldn't swap in here. So kills a show host, I think live on air would be more accurate. And it was rationalized as being a necessary act. And following that, a massive number of people can be seen to come out in the streets in support of that character. Did it result in real crime in the real world? So you can't talk about crime in a movie resulting in more crime in the movie. It has to be crime in the movie resulting in crime in the real world. So that doesn't... The first part was fine, but it doesn't... The example doesn't work. Yeah. So it has to be... So we were talking about rationalizing. So it has to be the criminals themselves in the real world are rationalizing what they're doing because of what they see in the movie, not the characters are rationalizing what they're doing in the movie. So it has to be the movie reflecting on reality. So you've strayed away from the context. I didn't catch the ideas we are to develop, sir. So you're on Facebook. It was how young people copy what they see in the movies. Hi, Fakrul. Good to see you here. Sandy, due to incomplete neurological developments, young people by nature easily get involved in following others. Therefore, it is very easy for them to imitate violent behavior in films. A case in point is that the rate of juvenile delinquency in Korea is relatively high owing to those young individuals copying criminal actions in those films. Good. Okay, let me just point out something here now, right? What you see here with Sandy, Sandy is using less common vocabulary, not because she's trying to use vocab that she thinks sounds good. So there's a lot of vocab here in Sandy's answer that most of the students here would not be able to use accurately. And this, I think, is a lot of where the inaccuracies come into students' answers. Is they see this, they look at that, they go, look, that's impressive. The words she's using are impressive because those are words above your ability. Now, I'm not talking for everyone. I'm just talking for, a mistake that I see students make a lot. So let's say like Sandy's at a band 7, you're at a band 6. You see her band 7 vocab and you're thinking, or I mean, some of that's higher than a band 7, to be fair. Not that there is band 7 vocab, but I mean, to be able to use that much vocabulary, that broader range with that level of accuracy. But don't see that and go, that's what I need to do. It's not. You need to clearly communicate. And if, as Sandy can communicate with these less common items of vocabulary, then that's fine. But Sandy isn't taking risks here. She's not using vocab that she doesn't know how to use. She's not, like there are definitely other words that she can't use, but she's not using them. She's only using the ones that she can. So I think this is a good example here of like how students chase what seems impressive rather than just clear communication. So don't go using vocab you can't use just because you've seen someone else that can use it. So just be careful with vocab. And that's a really good answer, Sandy. Okay, good, Ayush. Kamal, there should be a ban on extreme violence in movies because it often makes individuals rationalize unlawful acts. As when a criminal commits a crime, they have something in their brain to support this brutal behavior as they know it looks cool in movies, right? And these people do not get any serious punishment in films. For example, juveniles, has to be plural, juveniles commit more crimes these days as they think that they are behaving like movie actors, and this causes extreme violence and homicide scenes shown in movies. Yeah, that's what we're looking for there, Kamal. That's exactly what we're looking for. So the way that movie is affecting reality. Very good. Very, very good. Team Bangladesh, I completely disagree with the idea because it is a part of an entertainment who love actions. Not sure what you're going for there. And such activities help people survive while they are in danger. I disagree because it is a part of entertainment who love. Okay, so I disagree because it is a part of the entertainment for those who love action. Okay. When we talk about extreme violence, it's not like action movies. It's like, it depends on the action movie. Yeah. Okay. So you're trying to say that it's okay if it causes criminal behavior because some people enjoy those movies. Yeah. Okay. And such activities help people survive while they are in danger. It's the vocabulary here, really, Team Bangladesh. I'm not 100% certain what you're trying to say. So I'm unclear and I can't give you feedback as to whether your idea is appropriate or not. But I mean, that in itself is enough to help you improve your score, because you know that you need to work on your vocabulary. To illustrate it further, the violent actions are imitated by youngsters because they think that they are watching in the movies are the real situations, good, while it is not the case originally, as it will influence them to commit criminal actions in the real world, good. So they cannot separate reality from fiction, very good. Slasher movies, not sure what that's about. Okay, so that's good. We got a good way through the lesson. We had lots of relevant ideas, lots of good development, less development, but what we saw was relatively good. Good. That was a good lesson. I suppose you should be the judge of that, but you performed well, is what I'm saying. Okay. Then that's the end of the lesson. So I realize that's an hour gone, and if you need to leave, go ahead. Do, however, share, spread the word about complete test success. Any friends, family members, colleagues doing IELTS, let them know that I'm helping people. And if you're in any groups, any IELTS groups or anything, do share complete test success with whoever's doing the IELTS test. Navkaran, you're very welcome. Besides that, I can spare 5 minutes if anybody wants to ask any questions, if you have any doubts, if you're struggling with some aspect of your IELTS preparation. I have a few minutes and I can answer questions if anybody has any. Big B, I am in favor of, so that's the preposition. You need to learn that. That's why it's important to learn like strings of words rather than just one word by itself. So I'm in favor of this notion because people can copy the behavior of actors doing violence. So remember, it says to what extent. So you have to say, completely. So I am completely in favor of this, and notion is too informal. So of this view, because people can copy the behavior of actors doing violence. So we're saying that's kind of what the question said. So you can't use the idea from the question. So as it can lead to criminal behavior, you can't use that as your main idea. You can't say that you need your own main idea, because that's what you're saying will happen. So you have to explain why you think that will happen. This is due to the big effect of movies. That's too vague. What big effect are you referring to? And the habit of following trends in society platform. So that again is unclear. What trends? And society platform isn't a phrase, so that doesn't work. Maravik, you're very welcome, and get more involved. Be good to see your answers as well. Adoga, please give me a link or tips on how to write task 2 essays. So if you go back up to the very start of the live stream, up to the very start, the first comment. Oh, no. Team Bangladesh was the first. Mine was the second. These links will show you lots of advice on how to, what did you ask? How to write task 2 essays. So you'll see exactly what you're looking for there. Another term for soft spot, as you said, is informal. People have a fondness for something. To have a fondness, to have a liking for. Soft spot is definitely informal. It's a good phrase. And like I always say, if you're in the speaking test and you said that would help your score. Those type of informal phrases really do help in speaking, but unfortunately in writing it's not appropriate. I got a band 6 in my IELTS recently, whereas I want a band 7 to go abroad. Please suggest. So again, Navkaran, those lessons that I just showed Adoga, completing those would definitely be the first step. Getting more involved in these lessons. Your vocabulary, what you showed in your vocabulary in today's lesson is that you're really pushing yourself beyond your ability, and it's essentially reducing the clarity, reducing your ability to communicate in your writing. So that's the big thing for you is, you can't go from a band 6 to a band 7 in vocabulary by, trying harder in your essay. You go from a band 6 to a band 7 by sitting down and learning a few hundred words, So, I mean, it's weeks and months of hard work. But everybody can do it. The only people who can't do it are the people that quit. I mean, it could very likely take longer than you want it to take. That doesn't mean you can't do it. Would you stay at it for 2 years? Would it be that important to you? Like if it took you 2 years of hard work, would you say it's not worth it? I don't want it. Or would you say, I don't care how much work it is or how long it takes, I'm willing to do it? And that's the big difference. They're like, people give it a go, doesn't work. They don't want to, they're not willing to put that much effort into it. I'm not saying it will take you 2 years. I'm just saying, like, what is your outlook? I'm asking, what is your outlook on the IELTS test? Would you be willing to do that much work? I'm not saying that's how long it will take you, but if you have that attitude that if you can say to yourself, at all costs, however much work, however much time it takes, I don't care. A person with that attitude will absolutely get the scores that they need. But yeah, I know it's disappointing, and I know it's a lot of stress, and it's expensive, and it's it's a big ordeal. I understand that, but definitely start with those lessons. I also have like those free live feedback lessons and those one-on-one services, so getting more support on what you're doing wrong. But for now, vocab is definitely the big thing for you. Ernest, you're very welcome, and it's good to see you back here. Haven't seen you in quite a while. Stella, sir, I'm interested in task 1 lessons. Could you please send me the link? And yes, is that academic or general? I need to find it for you here first. Do you know what I'll do? I'll just share my my YouTube. I'm after tidying up my YouTube channel, where before it was like every new video I make comes in at the top, but I've organized it so it's like all the task 2 lessons, all the task 1 academic lessons, under that all the task 1 general. So it's really tidy now. So if you go to my channel, you just scroll down, you'll see everything laid out very cleanly and very easy to find. So I'll just share my YouTube channel. Okay, so I've just typed in Complete Test Success YouTube channel. There's the link. And you'll find, whether you're doing academic or task 1, you'll find all of that there. Good. Lizzie, you're very welcome. Chashan, no problem. You're welcome too. Stella, good. I asked that question and realized I didn't need to afterwards. So good. Work hard until everything becomes cheap. There's that, but then there's also the age requirements for some countries. So I've worked with students who want to go to Canada, and Canada has different point systems based on your age. So there's that as well. So I realize there are a lot of constraints involved, but I do firmly believe anyone can get the IELTS score they need with enough time and effort. And I've seen it in a lot of cases. I've seen people work so hard. I've seen people go from like band 5s to band 7. Not quickly, but I've seen it happen. After end, you're very welcome, and thank you. God bless you too. Okay, so it seems like there are no more questions at the moment. We'll finish it up there for now. If you have not already subscribed, I would advise doing that now, and then you can join me tomorrow in my live feedback lesson. So more task 2 support tomorrow, and then there'll be more speaking and more task 1 support and task 2 support next week in those lessons. So that's the link there that I'm referring to: free live feedback lessons on Zoom and one-on-one feedback services. Like I said, spread the word, let everybody know that I'm helping people with the IELTS test, and see you in the next lesson, either in this lesson that I'm talking about tomorrow or in the live streams next week. Okay, take care of yourselves, everybody, and have a good weekend if I don't see you before then. Bye-bye.